Bore da pawb. Good morning everybody. Croeso, welcome to my Wild Welsh Garden. Well, it's a blustery old day today in my Wild Welsh Garden. And there's rain forecast for today again. We've had some rain. We had quite a bit of rain in the night, a couple of nights ago. And the garden just loved it, absolutely soaked it up as if it never rained. The ponds are looking better. I've been carrying water in watering cans from the various buckets that have been collecting water from the various roofs after the various bits of rain that we've had. And there are some tadpoles because I have seen them. Let's see if I can find one. There's one. He hasn't got any back legs yet, but I have seen some with tiny little back legs. Tiny, tiny little back legs on that one. The greenhouse is looking good. The tomatoes are all growing. For those of you who haven't heard the tomato story, the last 2 years I haven't been able to grow them. They've had some horrible virus, and I thought it was probably in the soil. Because when I was younger, I would renew the soil in the greenhouse every year. And yeah, I can't do that anymore. So I think it's growing in pots from now on. And the strawberries are doing well. Quite a nice harvest from them. And I've got a tray of cosmos down there and some sweet corn. Yes, sweet corn does not grow well at the top of the Swansea Valley, but yeah, hope springs eternal. You know, I suffer from plant FOMO. Well, when I went to Sue's garden at Nantabeth last time, she was growing salvias in pots in her greenhouse. I've always wanted to be able to grow salvias, and I've never been able to. And they were doing really well. She keeps them in her greenhouse all year round, and yeah, I thought, well, she can do it, so can I. So I got myself these 3 from Sarah Raven. They're Salvia Caro Potosi, and we'll see how they do, because they just smell fabulous. And quick veg plot update. This is looking better since the rain. I've got potatoes down the side there, and a couple of perennial kale looking for a home, and then some rather sad looking courgettes, but they haven't been completely eaten by the slugs, so that's a plus. And another perennial kale to replace the one over there when that gets blown down. And then I've got sweet peas and runner beans climbing up this lovely rustic wigwam here. And the fact that the runner beans haven't been eaten by slugs, that's a first. Yes, normally I have to re-sow several times. And the perennial cabbage, the flowers have all gone over now and they're forming seed pods. I did think I could maybe eat them, but they're not very delicious. I think these are going to come out and make room for something else. And then in the soft fruit bed, the soft fruit bushes are growing, and there's also some sunflowers in there that survived the slugs. These bushes were all bare roots that I bought right at the end of the bare root season, and I think it was the beginning of April that I planted them. But yes, they're doing really well, so I'm very pleased so far. And this little currant bush that I thought hadn't made it, look, is sprouting from the bottom. So they all survived. There's some self-sown borage and self-sown nasturtiums. Might be rather too many. I'll probably weed some of those out. And I've put calendula around the outside. There's a couple of pots of Devil's Bit scabious there looking for a home. And then some strawberries that I usually leave for the birds, but there's quite a few this year that the slugs have left me. So, and the asparagus that I've given up thinking I'll ever harvest from, but I'm leaving it because it just looks very pretty. And again, rather too many self-sown borage, I think. Although it might be those that are confounding the slugs, who knows? And there's a thistle here. Have you any idea how hard it is for me to leave that there? Well, yeah, you probably do. But I will confess that there were two, and I pulled one out and I left one there. Thought I'd show you the polytunnel too, as we're on the subject of fruit and veg and crops and things. There's the brassicas from last autumn. And there's peas and more peas with pods forming, and mange two peas, and then broad beans. I've taken the tops off the taller ones and eaten those. And there's another of those bee beetles, but you know, I'm going to take him off there and go and put him outside. I don't think the polytunnel is the place for a bee beetle. So I've brought him over and put him on a Rosa complicata, because they do like to hide away in the half-open blooms. And then here there's a row of Winch and Beer radishes, which are winter radishes, and you can also eat the seed pods. Well, I've never grown anything like that before, so I'm quite excited about that. And the inevitable Welsh poppy in the corner. And I've got a pot of these. They're called rat's tail radish, and they're winter radish too, and you eat the seed pods of those. I've actually got two pots. I'm going to put one in here and one out in the garden. And then more mange two peas, potatoes, a perennial rocket that tries to take over the polytunnel, and just behind that I've sowed some chard, but I think that was only yesterday or the day before, so no sign of that. And then some more broad beans. And just by the door there's a self-seeded antirrhinum and the inevitable foxglove. I'm so glad it rained for the little trees in my tiny forest. I did water them, but rain is so much better. The teasels are looking good, and the forget-me-nots have all gone over. Well, of course, conventionally, I would pull them up, wouldn't I, and compost them. But I'm actually going to leave them because the birds eat the seeds. I've got so many sparrows that are seed-eating birds, they can come and eat them. And any left will self-seed, and I'll have ground cover for the winter and lots of forget-me-nots for next spring. And there's some here down the edge of the main path, which I'm going to leave as well. And I suppose in the olden days I would have said, well, that's very unsightly. But I think this is another example of a change of mindset, really. I don't see them as unsightly anymore. I just see them as part of the cycle of nature in a natural and a wild garden. And the lawn, or the meadow, I'm never quite sure what to call it. It's neither one thing nor the other, really. But whatever it is, it's looking an awful lot better after the rain. There's red clover and white clover. And there's bird's foot trefoil there. And the cowslips have gone over, and I'm going to leave them to seed, and hopefully I'll have more cowslips next year. And more red clover and fox and cubs and yellow rattle. Yes, the yellow rattle is flowering. And here there's ragged robin and yellow rattle. And more yellow rattle. which is reducing the vigour of this lovely grass, which is Yorkshire fog, but which is quite a thug. And now I think it's time for another jaunt. I'm not going for a walk this time. I'm going on Bronwen y Beic. Now, I don't go very far on her, and I don't go on any main roads at all. But it does mean that I can get up the hill. There's a very steep hill the other side of the valley, and I can get up it to the cycle track in about 5 minutes. And there's a nice seat up there that I can sit on and have my morning coffee. And if I'm lucky, I will get there and back before the rain. Here I am up on the cycle track. I've just come up that road. I couldn't film this really steep bit because I can't stop. If I stop, I can't get going again. And there the track goes down to Abertawe, to Swansea. This is where I came to listen to the dawn chorus that morning in the dark. And that's the view across the valley, and my little cottage is down there somewhere behind those trees. And that's Cribbarth, the hill behind my house where we went the other day. And up there is the Brecon Beacons, Abanai Brychainiog, and that's Van Gehirich. So that's where I'm going to sit, on that bench there. And you know, the sun's coming out. And this is just a little triangle of waste ground. There's nettles and cow parsley and field buttercup, gorse, bramble. And this hill is actually just a big spoil heap. It's a big coal tip, because where I'm standing is an old coal mine. But I just must show you this on this nettle patch. There's a great bundle of caterpillars, all down in sort of the recess of that leaf. Oh gosh, I am so pleased. This has absolutely made my day. Are they small tortoiseshell? I haven't seen any of those up here. I have seen peacock and I have seen red admiral. This cow parsley is actually the parent of the cow parsley seedlings that I've got in my garden, because I collected seeds from here last summer, and then I sowed them and they germinated, and I shall plant them out at the end of this summer, and hopefully they'll flower next. So I'm just sitting here drinking my coffee, listening to the warblers, and there's a cuckoo in the background. I'm just thinking about those little caterpillars. You know, there must be hundreds of potential butterflies there. And they're so vulnerable, because if this was in a park, you know, the parks people would come along and chop that nettle patch down in an instant. I mean, fortunately up here, they're probably not going to get chopped down. And now I can just feel a few spots of rain. So I'm going to head on back home now before I get wet. I'm back home and I've just noticed that somebody has snapped the top of these mullein off. Look at that. Taken the flower head. There it is, just discarded on the pavement. Is there no respect, I ask myself. And a quick look at the flower meadow. which is mostly full of Californian poppies. But they're so pretty and bright and lovely, they can stay. And here I am, back in my garden. So thanks for joining me again in my Wild Welsh Garden. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Hwyl fawr.